Hey guys, what's up? Swapnil here. This video is to give you an introduction about my channel, AskMoneyGuru. It's basically a financial education publication aimed at spreading financial awareness and literacy among the youth. So this blog I started around March 2018 to share my own passion of personal finance and financial planning. So basically, I like to research on a variety of investment products available both in the Indian market as well as globally, and I do my best to share my knowledge across with the wider people to help answer their queries. So keeping that in mind, I actually started this blog to help increase the financial awareness in our society. So my blog can be found at AskMoneyGuru.com, that is www.askmoneyguru.com. So check that out and let me know what you think about it. So yeah, I'm basically from Kolkata, and so from my childhood only, I have been actually very much curious about financial planning, wealth management, and different investment products. I kind of came across multiple journals on finance. I used to study certain magazines, and that's how I basically developed my interest on financial planning to start with. So so I would say, rather, if you are looking for some ways of improving your current financial status, and you want to know how to get better at it, and how you can increase your wealth and increase your net worth, and also plan effectively for your future goals, then this is a very good site. My site AskMoneyGuru.com will be a very good resourceful site for you to get to know how to do those. So here you will find me writing about a variety of topics like mutual funds, stocks, then how to create your emergency folio, then life insurance, health insurance, and also I am also active on Quora, where I answer a lot of queries related to personal finance posted by different users. So those queries also you will find here answered in this site. So I think they will help as a very good reference point for you to develop a strong knowledge of personal finance. So I personally believe that if you go through these articles and keep following them regularly, you will be in a very good position to take personal financial decisions on your own, because personal finance is something we need to be constantly researching on and keep keeping ourselves updated on. We should not blindly rely on the advice of others, be it well-wishers, friends, or anyone, because they may not also be in a right position to give those knowledge. They may also be hearing it from someone and just passing it to you. So doing your own research is very important before you choose to invest in something. So that being said, let's get to the basics of investing. So before you start investing, there are a few things that you need to take care of. First is obviously creating an emergency fund or your emergency portfolio to take care of any expenses that may come up in times of emergency. It can come in various formats, be it a job loss or any health emergency in your family, or any basically out of the blue situation that calls for an immediate expense. So for that, you need to ensure that you have at least 6 to 9 months of your expenses stored separately in somewhere, and from where you can withdraw the fund immediately as and when you need. For instance, let's say if your monthly expenses is around say 30,000, then 30,000 into 6, roughly 1,80,000. So that is the minimum amount you should have stored separately for emergency purposes. I personally like to keep at least 12 months worth of my monthly expenses as emergency fund, so that I have a sufficient cushion to protect my investments when certain emergency situations arise. And it's also very important to have this emergency money in some place where you can access them easily. So it should not be in some fund, debt fund, or equity fund, where if you place the redemption instruction, it will take at least 1 to 2 days to get the money. You may need the money immediately. So that's why it's very important to keep it in a place where it can be very easily accessible. So some options are like savings account. Definitely savings account is a very good option, but I would prefer not to keep it there, because the moment we keep money in our savings account, there is a very strong tendency to actually spend that money. It's very difficult for people to control that urge of spending it. So that's why what I personally prefer to do is like I keep that money in a separate liquid fund. For example, there are very good liquid funds available in the market. I personally keep my emergency money in Axis Liquid Fund. So Axis Liquid Fund has a very good facility which they call as instant redemption. So wherein you can redeem up to rupees 50,000 per day through this instant redemption facility. So likewise, if you need emergency money and you need to withdraw it immediately, you can withdraw up to 50,000 at one go from the Axis Liquid Fund. So that's one very good option where you can park your emergency money. But wherever you do it, be it a savings account or a liquid fund, ensure that it's in a place where it is easily accessible and you can get the money immediately. And plus, treat this money as very pure money and don't even think about using it unless in times of emergency. So think of it something like that, break in case of emergency, some fire, some symbols you might have seen kept in societies, wherein in case there is a fire, then only you break that glass and then you take that key out. So treat your emergency money like that. Okay, next we come to insurance. So there are various types of insurance depending on your needs, but some basic insurance that you need to ensure that you have are like if you are married and you have some dependents like your spouse or children or maybe even your parents, I would prefer you keep a life insurance. Better you go for a term insurance cover than traditional LIC policy, because term insurance covers are very cheap options and in the minimum amount of premium possible, they will give you the maximum coverage. And depending on your age, the premiums vary. So for a person of around 30 years of age, a 1 crore cover may cost around not more than 6,000 to 7,000 premium per annum, which is pretty cheap as compared to a traditional LIC policy. So how much term cover should you have? Some people may ask. So there is a thumb rule for that. So whatever is your annual income, multiply it by 10 or 15 and roughly, and that should be the target which you should want to have. For example, like if you say your annual income is 10 lakhs, then you should have a term cover of at least 1 crore to 1.5 crores, just to be ensure that you have sufficient cover for your dependents. So once term insurance is over, next we come to health insurance. So in terms of health insurance also, it's a very important thing to keep. And this I would say that you have a health insurance on top of the health insurance that is provided by your employer. This is very important because in case of an unfavorable situation, let's say you don't have a job anymore and God forbid during that time you fall sick and you need money. So then it will be very costly mistake not to have a separate health insurance other than your employer health insurance, right? So that's why it's very important to also have a second backup health insurance on top of your employer health insurance, just for these kind of situations. And you should target to have at least 10 lakhs worth of health cover. And if you are married, ensure that it's like a family floater plan so that anyone in the family can make use of that health insurance cover. Next, another very important insurance is like a critical insurance cover. So health insurance basically covers your treatment expenses for general illnesses, but certain illnesses are there like cancer, heart attack, or many other kinds of very serious illnesses are there, which may cause a burn which may burn a hole in your pocket in case you don't have sufficient money to cope up with those expenses. And going by the current trend, even young people in the years 30 to 40 are falling prey to this kind of serious critical illnesses. So I would personally suggest to keep a critical illness cover as well, in addition to health insurance cover. And the critical illness cover you can aim to keep of about around 25 lakhs max. So it's very cheap. These critical illness covers are very cheap and you can get them easily at around 3,000 to 4,000 premium per annum. Another insurance that you can keep based on your need is accident insurance. So in case like if you meet with an accident and God forbid that due to it you have some disability, maybe permanent or even temporary disability, this accident insurance covers will actually ensure that during the time that you are not able to work because of this disability, they actually provide you the supplement income during the period of your job loss because of this accident. So you may want to keep that as well. So now that we have all the emergency fund and insurance in place, we are in a position to actually start our investments. So basically this emergency funds and insurance will act as a safety cushion. Like in case of an emergency comes, we don't need to withdraw money from the investments. Rather, these emergency funds and insurances will actually help us to tide over the emergencies so that our investments can keep growing. So whenever you're investing, it should always be aligned to your goals. You should not invest randomly. So think about the end goal, like by when you want to achieve it. For instance, if it's like a short-term goal, which is like within 5 years, for example, buying a car or a house, or maybe going on a holiday that you want to go, that you want to achieve within the next 5 years, then it's preferably you invest that money into a debt fund and not invest into equity, because equity funds usually take certain time to actually mature and give you the returns that they are capable of. So that's why if you are having a goal that is actually 5 years away, for example, you want to plan for your retirement, or you want to save for your kids' education, higher education, or your kids' marriage, or any goal which is at least, I would say, 10 to 15 years away, for those kinds of goals you can plan to invest in equity funds. So that's like a thumb rule. Any investment less than 5 years, go for debt funds. More than 5 years, go for equity funds. Going by the current situation of COVID-19, it's a pretty dire situation wherein like so many countries across the world are affected at the same time, and currently there is no cure for it as such. So the only way governments are containing the spread of this disease is through lockdown, but then that is also having an impact on our economy. So many people are actually anxious at this time, and many people have these questions and also asking me and others about what they should do about the investments. Like, should they continue with their investments, or should they redeem their current investments, or should they continue investments? What should they do at such times? So I would say that actually these are the times which actually offer you the opportunity to make very good returns, because as the great investor Warren Buffett once said, be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy. But don't take that too seriously also, and go too aggressively out in investing. So I would say, keeping your risk appetite in mind, like how much risk you can tolerate, you should actually plan your investments. So for people who are not very high risk takers, it's better to go with less risk investments like debt funds, and people who actually can take more risk, they can go with equity. But whatever be your risk appetite, I would say, like whatever investments you were doing previous to this coronavirus outbreak, you should actually continue with the same investments irrespective of what is the current situation. Because as I said before, these are the current times. These times like this actually provide you the best opportunity to make money. So because right now the very good companies are available at a lower bargain, and you can purchase more units of those companies through mutual funds, or if you are directly investing in stocks, you can buy more stocks at lower prices, and later when the market bounces back, you will actually make more returns on these purchases that you made. So that is the perspective from my end. I personally am continuing with the same investment approach that I was doing before the coronavirus pandemic outbreak, and I would like to keep continuing doing with the same. So I suggest you to do the same as well. Last but not the least, I have written a book on personal finance and financial planning, and the title of the book is No More Poor, Become Rich Today. A bit catchy title. But basically, it's a book on financial planning, and it talks about how you can build that mental mindset in order to become rich. So this I have written after studying and researching about various successful and wealthy people, and I found that they actually follow certain principles that actually help them to become rich. So based on that, I actually wrote that chapter. And other than that, also there are various guidelines and tips on how you should ensure that you have all the you have all the necessary emergency funds and insurances in place before you start your investments, and then how you can do goal-based investment planning and how you can link your goals with your investments. So I would say you'll find a very good information in that book that can really help you to develop a sound knowledge on personal finance and wealth management. So I definitely feel and I'm confident that after you read this book, you will gain a lot of insights, and that will hold you in good state in terms of your financial fitness. So do check it out. I have shared the link below in the video. So do check it out. Do check out the book from there and let me know what you think. So that's all for today. Thanks guys for watching, and keep following this channel. Bye.